How's it going? Thank you for coming in today. Look, Jim, there are three things that I'd like to focus on with you today. The first of those being your recent absences from your counselling program, which, as you know, are a requirement of your treatment order. The second thing that I'd like to touch on is how the commute is impacting your ability to get to those sessions in the first place. So I understand it's causing you some difficulties, and we can look at working towards some ways to address those issues for you. The third thing that we need to discuss is the incident involving the smashed window at the train station. That is something that I am obliged to disclose to the support team, and that will likely result in a hearing. But before we delve into that any further, Jim, I think it's really worth taking a moment just to reflect on the time, energy, and effort that you've put into the program so far. And I think that that's something to be really proud of. So let's keep that in mind today as we work towards addressing some of these issues with some solutions and get you back on track and towards completing this program, because that's what we all want to see. So firstly, if we turn our attention to the sessions, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding is that you've missed the last three. And a major reason for that is that you feel as though you're not getting any value out of the sessions. In your own words, you've described the sessions as total bullshit and mentioned that you feel as though the counsellor is just going through the motions in some of those introductory sessions. Does that sound about right? Look, Jim, first and foremost, as I mentioned, and as you know, these sessions and your attendance at them is a requirement of your treatment order, and I can't reiterate that strongly enough how important these sessions are. A potential consequence of not attending the sessions going forward is that the support team may have no choice but to interpret that as you not taking the program seriously, and as a result of that, they may recommend to the judge that they cancel your participation in the program. Now, that's not something that anybody wants to see. So let's see if we can come up with some ways to get a little bit more value out of these sessions for you and get you back attending. So I think it's also worth noting that the company that runs these programs and the counsellors themselves, they're experts and they've been doing this for a long time. So it's worth placing a little bit of trust in them, knowing what they're doing and having a process to work through here. I know what it's like to start new programs and meet new people. It can be a little bit painful at first, but I really encourage you to give that another chance in the sense that building those stronger relationships at the start might mean that you get a little bit more out of the program at the back end. On that note, is there something that comes to mind in terms of changes potentially you could make, or changes that we could try and make with the sessions that would see you get a little bit more value out of them? Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Something that I was thinking was potentially, and with your permission, of course, we could set up a meeting between yourself, myself, and the counsellor to go over some of the issues that you're having and see if we can come up with some ways to get more value out of the sessions for you. How does that sound? Yeah, cool. So if we turn our attention then to the commute, and this is something that I think a lot of people would emphasise with, as I understand, you've got to catch a peak hour train and be on that train for over an hour to make it to your 9:30 session. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Look, I think that is not a situation many people would like to be in. But the good news is, Jim, that the court does have the ability to potentially change your treatment order. So two options that we could look at are getting your treatment order amended to include a session that is closer to your house or on a more direct transport route. Do you have a preference for either something that is a little bit closer, obviously, but potentially a mode of transport that might be a bit easier and more likely for you to get to the sessions? Okay, so again, with your permission, that's something that I'm more than happy to take to the support team and see where we land on that. The other thing worth remembering is that there is the potential for the court to provide extra funding for things like cab fares if we are unable to find a way around this issue, because I understand that that is a substantial roadblock for you getting to those sessions. So we will do our best to address that, because at the end of the day, Jim, we're here to help you get through this program together. So finally, the other item on the agenda today is the incident regarding the smashed window. As I mentioned, this is something that I'll be obliged to communicate to the support team, and as a result, it will likely end up in a hearing to determine your continued participation in the program. However, with your consent, I'm happy to represent you in that hearing, and I think we could talk through some of the changes that we're looking at making to the program that would ensure that this doesn't happen again. But again, I need to reiterate that that is a serious breach that we'll have to address in due course. So I know that that's a lot to take in. We've covered a little bit of ground there, but just to wrap up, we've touched on the sessions, the commute, and the window incident. From my perspective, with your consent, things that we can do together to get you back on track is, if you'll allow, I can set up a meeting between yourself, the counsellor, and myself to work through some of those issues with the sessions. I can take some of your preferences in terms of alternative physical places of those sessions to make it easier for you to get to them and get around those issues we're having with the train. And finally, I'm happy to represent you in the hearing should that eventuate. And Jim, finally, I just want to say, we're here for you as a team. We don't want to see you taking things into your own hands. So please do reach out to us. As you can see, we're here to improve the situation. So please feel free to do so and take advantage of us as a resource. Thank you.